All right, what's going on, everybody? Jared James here. I've waited a couple days on this. I know that it's a big thing in our industry. As far as, I mean, people love to talk about Zillow. It seems for some it's the villain, and for other people it's the company they love. And but either way, it's someone that people love to talk about. And I've waited a couple days just because I wanted to kind of wait and kind of formulate my thoughts. And you know, I've seen so many like rash things from people, and people jumping out and getting upset and just kind of freaking out about everything. And you know, really that comes from fear, right? That's really when you see people act like, it's like when someone steps up in a street fight and there's the one person who's, you know, the one that you have to worry about is the quiet one. It's not the one who's freaking out and, you know, flailing their arms and everything, because, you know, they're more afraid than anybody. And so I honestly wasn't even going to touch this just because I feel like so many people have touched it, but I do have a little bit of a unique thought on it, you know, as far as Zillow buying ShowingTime, right? And ShowingTime is a service where you set up your showings and, you know, you've got all that data going and everything else. And so I'm going to give you my thoughts on that. I'm going to tell you more importantly, I'm going to tell you, you know, what we need to do. I've got a lot of real estate people that follow me on here, and I think a lot of people are looking at it and they're going, so what do we do from here? Like, where do we go from here? Like, what's our next step? Where should our focus be? And so I thought it was important for me to touch on that, so it's kind of on the record. And then the other thing I want to talk about on this live is, you know, Facebook made some changes that, you know, I don't think a lot of people are even aware of yet, as far as what you're able to do and not able to do with your ads and collecting addresses. And a lot of people know about previously what had happened with, you know, you're not allowed to target by zip codes anymore. A lot of people don't know either, but you're not allowed to target by zip codes anymore. That was deemed discriminatory, which in the real estate space, it's like, you know, small areas, pocket areas, neighborhoods are what matters to us, you know? And so there was some other major stuff that happened I'm going to talk about at the end. And more importantly, again, I'm not just here to talk about, you know, what happened. You can go on Google and turn on Google Dictate or something, and you can have it read to you. But I'm here more so to kind of talk to you about where do we need to go from there? Where's our focus? As business people, you know, we're called on to be innovators, at least the good ones, at least the people who aren't wannabes. We're called on to be innovators and to not get afraid of change, and not, like, that's the only constant thing in any world. The ones that survive, it's like the evolution of business, right? The ones that survive are the ones who innovate, not get scared of every new thing that happens and this must mean this. And, you know, I can tell you that I don't spend a lot of time fearing what my competition's doing. I pay attention to what's happening in our industry and in the sectors that matter, but I'm not a fearful person. Fearful people generally don't win, right? And so I want to start off with that. But what I also want to say is that when we talk about, you know, what just happened with Zillow buying ShowingTime for $500 million. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard that. That is $500 million, right? Good day to own ShowingTime. When you look at what's going on with that, you know, I kind of have a long history with this. I remember when, you know, first off, everybody's always kind of been on this Zillow craze. You know, a lot of the industry just can't stand them, and they're selling us our listings. And how many of you remember, and I guess it still happens to this day, you know, Zestimates are inaccurate, and everybody's all upset. And my response was always, you know, did you want them to be accurate? Like, I'm not really sure what we're complaining about there. The fact that they're inaccurate means that you are needed, right? And so I remember early on, I don't even know how many years, maybe 10 years ago, I had signed an endorsement deal with .loop, and a lot of people don't know this. I signed an endorsement deal with .loop, you know, credit to Austin Allison and the founder of .loop and everybody that was a part of that. And my job was to help spread .loop in the industry and to get it out there and to, you know, help promote it and do those things. And, you know, I was paid and I got shares and I got all that kind of stuff. And then eventually .loop sold to Zillow. And, you know, a lot of people during that time, you know, said this is the beginning of the end. You know, they're going end-to-end system. They want to eliminate agents. They want to, you know, all of these kinds of things started coming out. And they're like, why does a lead creator now want to get into the space of having transaction management? And a lot of large companies like Keller Williams and others got really upset because now all of their data, all of their agents' data, their transaction data, all of that stuff was now owned by Zillow, right? And so, you know, I was kind of behind the scenes when that was all going on. And I think for a lot of you that have followed me for years, I've always really kind of stayed in the space of, you know, first off, I don't really bash companies. I respect companies, I really do. The entrepreneur in me respects companies when I see them doing things It's like I just respect the game. When I watch people expand, and I watch them expand services, and I watch them forget about for a second what it means for everybody. Like when I see it happen, I respect that game, obviously. But I was a little bit a part of that and seeing what was going on, and I was never somebody who thought that Zillow was going end-to-end transaction. And I also don't believe that when Spencer was there, Spencer Raskoff, that was the goal at all. Now, when you look at something, if we're going to really break this down, when you look at something like a company like Zillow, you got to remember that Zillow was started by Rich Barton. Rich Barton is also the guy that started Expedia. Very bright guy. Expedia, the goal there was to when you look at the travel industry, they were going to go in there and make it an all online process, right? And to the detriment of a lot of travel agents. And that was really the core of why so many people got upset when he started Zillow. It was like, wait a second now, your whole thing with disrupting that industry was getting rid of them. Your whole thing with disrupting real estate would be to get rid of us, right? And look, in an interview just yesterday, Rich Barton said on CNBC that he does believe that transactions can happen all online, and what that can look like, and what that streamlined process can look like. But I also think that a lot of people have really underestimated our industry. I think that they've underestimated just how relational our industry is. Think of it like this. And if you're in the mortgage industry, you're going to hate me for about 10 seconds, and then it'll come back around. If you really think about our world today, right, when you look at the fact that, yes, you can go online and you can simply just purchase a vacation, and you can just, what's the best travel, what's the best, flight, what's the best hotel, and you can do it all online. When you really look at that, right, that makes sense. How are mortgage people still around right now? Like, when you really think about it, like, can't you just go online, get 57 quotes, who cares where it's from, best rate, best package, whatever? Within 2 months, they're going to sell it to a major bank anyway as part of a larger portfolio. Like, can't you just do that? And yet, mortgage people are still around. How? Because that wouldn't seem to make sense according to that same logic. And how it is that they're still around is that, what really separates our industry from so many industries is that you can't add a house to a shopping cart like you can a direct flight from New York to the Caribbean. You can't do that. It is so relational. Like, to this day, when people work with an agent, they're finding out, who do you recommend to get pre-approvals from? Who do you recommend? It's such a relational business. It's such an emotional business. Like, how many of you have ever gone into a house and you had buyers who told you over and over again, don't show me anything with less than 2 full baths. You have to have 2 full baths. I've got 3 girls in this house, and I'm not sharing a bathroom anymore. It has to be, at least 2 full baths. And then they go to an open house somewhere, buy a house with a bath and a half, and do it through the listing agent and say it was your fault because why didn't you ever send me this property? And the truth is, it's because they didn't ever think they would buy a property with a bath and a half, but there's just so much relationship. There's so much, right? And so I think a lot of places have kind of underestimated just how relational this whole thing is. So I was watching this whole thing, and I've been watching Zillow and watching all these other companies. And by the way, we have a ton of clients. We have individuals, we have teams, we have brokers that do really well with Zillow. They understand return on investment, and they're out there investing the money and making the money back, and good for them. Like, I don't care how somebody creates leads. I don't think you should have all of your business in one basket. That's never smart from any business perspective. But if it's giving you a return, I mean, that's just smart business. You ride that wave as long as you possibly can. But I was watching all of these, and I was sitting there going like, okay, I remember when Rich Barton took back over, and I'm like, are they going to go end to end? Because that's his MO. And when I saw him take back over and Spencer step down, I was like, let's see here. Let's watch what's going on. And then I was watching what was going on with, and if you guys remember, I talked about this, a year ago, anybody in here, like a year ago, about the zip code thing and the, whatever, where I was talking about how, these major conglomerates like Facebook and Google stopped allowing people to target by zip code because they determined it was discriminatory. Now, whether you agree with that or not, that was the new rule from pressure from HUD, that it was discriminatory. And the major argument for Zillow was, well, why would they eliminate agents? Because they are in a position where, that's the majority of their income. Premier agents, like, why would they cut themselves in the foot? Like, that wouldn't make any sense, right? And then when I started seeing that zip code stuff happen, I was like, wait a second now, they're going to have to change their model. They're going to have to pivot. Because eventually, if Facebook and Google had to shut down based on zip code targeting, that was the main revenue source for Zillow, was selling zip codes to agents. So what's really going to happen there? And then you started seeing things happen with iBuyer. You started seeing hiring agents. You started seeing these things. And again, from a business perspective, I know so many of you are watching and you're just going like, oh my God, I knew it. And there's all this hatred going out. And first off, I want to preface before I say what I say that, guys, all of that energy, all of that hatred, all of that stuff literally doesn't change one thing about what they do with their business or anything. It just takes away from what you do. Every ounce of energy that you do, complaining about that, getting angry about that, is an ounce of energy that you're not putting into your own business. And you have to decide at some point in your life, at some point as a business owner, what kind of a business owner are you going to be? Where is your energy ultimately going to be put towards, okay? And so I'm watching this and I'm seeing what's going on and I'm going, they're pivoting. And by the way, they have a right to do that. They're a company, okay? Like they have a right to find any bit of profit they can. The real question for you has got to be like, what are you going to do as a result of it? Like what happens as a result of that, right? And I want to talk about that. And I also want to say, kind of in conjunction with that, like right in parallel with that, like there's other places that are coming along too. I know that we thought that there was never going to be. How can anybody compete with Zillow? They have so much traffic. They have so much whatever. And like here comes CoStar. Like, have you guys been paying attention to what's going on right now? CoStar, that has a market rate that is multiple times that of Zillow, that owns companies like LoopNet, that owns companies like Apartments.com, that just bought a company like HomeSnap. Their CEO has said, "We're coming for you, Zillow." Like they're coming in. There's all these other things that are going on right now that, it's an interesting time to be in our industry. But again, all of that stuff going on, what does it matter to you? What does it matter for you in your business? Now, I've had people ask me, what do I think that the ShowingTime transaction means, right? Is it a data play? I don't know how it could be a data play because, my God, who's got more data than Zillow? They have more traffic than everybody watching right now for the rest of their lives. They get that more in a day, right? I really look at it and I say, and by the way, I've been saying this the whole time as far as like the industry is going to change. The industry is going to change because we've come from a place where, how consumers acted and the way they consumed 30 years ago is completely different than it is today. By the way, it's different than it was 30 months ago. It's different than it was 12 months ago. And yet the way we still do business is very similar. And so I'm going, there's got to be a change here. We're living in a world right now where, people order their food and it's picked up, or their groceries, and it's all ready for them when they get there. They order their groceries and it gets delivered to their home, right? And so when I look at something like this, I don't see this as a data play. Data is, fantastic. But I think that what they're trying to do is this is the Amazoning of the real estate business. That's how I look at it. It's the Amazoning of the real estate business. When you look at Amazon, when you look at online shopping, when you look at these things are always. These are, if you can't sleep in the middle of the night, you can go create some dopamine and buy something, right? Like it doesn't matter what time, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? ShowingTime to me is that kind of a play. This is Zillow's way of saying, okay, we've got all of the data, we've got the properties, we've got all that stuff. In order for us to go to the next level, we've got transaction management, we've got a CRM, we've got all these things. The next level for us is to be able to have and to be the ability to be setting up these showings and doing these things at 2:30 in the morning, right? That's really what I think the play is here. But again, the real question to you is, what's it mean to you? What's it mean for your business? Does this mean that you grab pitchforks and somehow form some kind of allegiance against Zillow? I think a lot of you have already tried that. Here's what I think it means for you. First off, I think a lot of people are still going to move forward. We still have a lot of clients. We've got individuals, we've got whatever, that are still working with them. They're making money, and I trust them to be smart enough to look at their return on investment, not put all their eggs in one basket, and as long as it's working, continue to do that, right? But here's, for me, what it really means. Number one, you got to have a strategy, You got to know moving forward what that means. Does that mean that you're going to be working in conjunction? Does that mean that you need to start looking at how do you replace things? Like, what does that mean as a strategy for you moving forward? And again, what kind of a business are you going to be? Are you focusing on others? Are you focusing on yourself? Like, I put out a thing on Instagram the other day, and I said, look, your competition is not your competition. Like, that's not your greatest competition, right? Complacency is your greatest competition. Overthinking things is your greatest competition. Living in your head is your greatest competition. You all know what I mean, right? When you live in your head, you create problems that don't even exist. It's just the reality of what happens. And so here we are with yet another example. Yet another pin in the timeline of our industry, where some are going to take off from this point and they're going to take advantage of it, and they're going to find out what they can do, and they're going to innovate, and they're going to use it to their advantage. And then some are going to paralyze in fear. They're going to complain like crazy. They're going to use this as an excuse of why they didn't do well. Think of it like this, guys. Last year we had COVID, right? And many of you were shut down. And it's interesting because we have students in the exact same areas, the exact same cities, who had the best years of their lives. Like, they even felt bad putting it out on social about how good of a year they had because of the year that so many people just went through. And then we had people in those exact same areas who had their worst years ever and said, COVID. It's because of COVID. And I'm sitting back here going, same area, same thing, same rules, same winners win. That's the bottom line. Winners win. I did another Instagram video recently when I talked about how, real estate entrepreneurship is a meritocracy. That at the end of the day, it's a meritocracy. The best are going to win. And so for a lot of you right now that have that misjudged energy, that misguided anger and energy that are going towards these other places, it's not helping you, right? It doesn't help you. Are there going to be some things that affect your business? Probably. Are there going to be some ways that you can leverage it and use it for your business? Probably. If you waste way too much energy worrying about them and freaking out and doing whatever, is that going to affect your business in a negative way? Probably. You have to decide right now what kind of a business owner you are. Are you willing to innovate, or are you simply trying to bathe in the same water for as long as you can and still try to convince everybody you're clean? Like, after a while, that's dirty bathwater, right? It's the same kind of a thing. Like, you might have been doing things for a while that were really good for your business, and they helped you and they made you money and they whatever, but just because that worked 14 years ago does not mean that that's the way forward. And so all of these things that are happening, they wouldn't happen unless the consumer allowed them to happen. I want you guys to remember that, right? And I'm not going pro, anti, whatever, all of these things that are going on with Zillow and with Redfin and all these other things. I'm just saying they are happening, and they're going to happen regardless. And you can either decide that you're on one side where you complain about it and you end up losing, but at least you have an excuse, or you can decide that winners win and I'm going to be on that side, and I'm going to use this as an opportunity to innovate. And I'm going to figure out, is there anything from that or from that system that I can leverage and use for my own? Is there any partnership that works? Is there any outside of a partnership that works? Like, winners win. You've got to decide which side you're going to fall on. And the other thing that you've got to decide right now, and it's funny because, I've been talking about this so much the last year. You have got to get closer to your database, okay? Nobody, with all the online stuff and everything else, nobody's stealing your clients, okay? With all the video that's out there, I mean, my God, nobody can do anything in today's world without there being a video of it and it ruining their lives, right? So I have yet to see the video of one of your clients getting locked up, gagged, and stolen away while they said, no, I'm working with so-and-so. I've yet to see that video. It doesn't exist. Nobody can steal your clients when they're really your clients. Now is the opportunity when you need to get closer to your database. I'm doing a keynote right now where I'm talking about focusing on the right side of the transaction, right? The average $117,000 value of every single client, the majority of that $117,000 is on the right side of the transaction, not the left side. It's post-close, right? What are you doing with that database? How close are you getting? Because if you leave them out there and they're free agents, there's a lot of opportunities right now for them to wander off, but how close are you getting to that database? Because nobody can steal what is already yours, right? Those clients that are already yours. So have a strategy, decide to innovate. Winners win, it's a meritocracy. Innovation is what matters right now. Get closer to your database. And quite frankly, now more than ever, and again, we've been teaching this for years, you need infrastructure. You are not going to compete both with these places and if you're still working with these places and they're deciding who they want to send business to. Because look, they said in a press release, I think it was yesterday, that they're no longer a lead creator, they're a transaction generator, right? And they have decided that they are going to have agents and brokerages and other places that they are going to be working with to create these transactions. And so at the end of the day, the only way that you're truly the best option for the consumer in a world, again, where you've got Amazon and all these other things that we talked about already, and everything's on demand, and my God, I was going to say that, my kids live in a generation where they don't even know what it's like to, have a show end and have to wait a whole week until the next one comes out. And then Disney Plus came out, and all of a sudden it's like they actually do that with a lot of their shows. So I'm a little bit happy about that. But the point is, we're living in a world, guys, where it's just different. Everything's on demand. And if you're trying to act as a solopreneur and still try to win, it just doesn't work. Look at what we've done here. Okay, look at what we've done here. I got criticized for it when we did it. This is why I respect the game when I see these other places doing this. We do the coaching, training, speaking thing, right? And then we built software. And then we built a marketing department. And then we built a transaction coordination department. And we allowed ourselves to be a part of the full process because we knew that it was better for you, which is our consumer, right? You need to be looking at your business right now and saying, am I the best for the consumer? Forget about the headlines. Forget about how good it feels to get angry at these companies and walk around with the pitchfork and all that stuff. And by the way, guys, I'm not saying you're justified or unjustified. That's not my role to do that. What I'm saying is it doesn't do anything for you, right? Focus on, I hate to do, my God, self-help book 101, but focus on the things you can control. My God, that's in every single book ever written where they're trying to focus on the things you can control. And so the things you can control is how you're actually running your business, how you're actually innovating. You can look within and say, am I the best option? If you're out in the marketplace right now and you're working with clients and you don't have a TC, you don't have a transaction coordinator, you're probably not the best option, right? Because you're probably running around. If you're out there doing your own marketing, we're going to talk about Facebook in a second, and you're relying on you to be slow enough to make sure that every client gets the same marketing experience on their property and otherwise, you're probably not the best option, right? We need to look at our business and get serious now and not say, how did my dad do business? How did my grandma do business? What does business look like moving forward? I've said it many times. There are two businesses you're always in, right? The business you're in and the business you're going to be in. If you're not working on a regular basis to put yourself out of business, someone else is, period, right? And you can either get angry at those people or you can step back like I'm doing and go and respect the game and go, what can we learn from that? What can we, right? Because one of them helps you and one of them doesn't. And so you got to look at, how am I handling that? How do I feel about that? And it might not be easy. I get it. It might not be easy. It's much easier to get angry. It's much easier. But that's what normal people do, right? Normal people can't have abnormal success. At the end of the day, that's what it is. I said something on a thing I was on the other day, and I said, hey, it's okay to live a life that other people don't understand. We can't act like we have these ambitions to be this crazy successful whatever, but then in everything we do in every area of our life, we're completely normal. It doesn't work like that. That's just, you don't go buy a store-bought recipe for something and then think that you're going to blow people away with the greatest whatever you've ever made. It's not how it works, right? So we've got to be okay with that. Most of you, and none of you, by the way, got into real estate to be average, right? So when you think about this stuff, remember the core of who you are. Remember the core of what, why you got into this business. And you can use these things to make you passionate about, going next level, being the best for your people, innovating, building the infrastructure out, making sure you're the best option in your marketplace. Or you can just sit back and kick around by the water cooler and just complain. And you'll feel all right, but you're not going to go anywhere, okay? And like I say all the time, guys, don't just listen to what I'm saying, watch what I'm doing, right? I didn't just stick with what we were doing. We started building out other things for that very reason, okay? So on one hand, Zillow bought ShowingTime. The other thing we got to pay attention to right now is, and a lot of you don't realize this, Facebook came out last week, and they said that you can no longer, on your lead ads, the one where it auto-fills, it pre-fills the information, you can no longer get people's address of where they live, okay? And I heard that, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Because as you know, I run a marketing company. We do a ton of ads for people, and we do all those things. And so our job is to stay on top of that. And we're like, what? It's a real estate ad. How can we not get address? And so one of the advantages of the people that work with us at Jarja Media is not only that we have people full-time, that's their job, is to know what's going on and be on top of that, but I immediately reached out to my buddy at Facebook, who I've done some trainings with and such, in the real estate department over there at Facebook, Scott Shapiro, and I just kind of started saying, is this real? Like, we can't do this? Is this like a real thing? And he sent me some information on, what's allowed and what's not allowed, right? And he sent me an email, and he basically said, below are some examples of such prohibited pre-filled fields in lead ads. Now, again, we're talking about lead ads, the ones where it pre-fills. You can still do ones where traffic ads and those kind of things where they go to a separate place and ask for an address, but they won't allow it on Facebook, right? And he said for pre-filled fields in lead ads for housing, employment, and credit opportunities, such as date of birth, gender, marital status, relationship status, location-based contact information, street address, city, post or zip code, all of these kind of things. And I'm like, what? So I sent him back an email, and I'm like, how can that be? Like, we're in real estate advertising. We need addresses. And he said, a real estate service may ask people for the city of where they may be interested in purchasing a home, but the ad cannot ask for the customer's current city location. Real estate companies may not ask for a person's current zip code, but will be allowed to ask for the zip code that the person intends to purchase a home, okay? And so we've got this, and we're already making changes and everything else, and deciding how to change everything up so that everybody still gets the best result that they possibly can. But there's a greater point right now. When you hear something like that, it's just like the Zillow purchase of ShowingTime, and a lot of you going crazy about this and everything else. It comes down to your mentality at the end of the day, right? And this is the conversation I had with our marketers last night. I said, you know what the beautiful thing is? At the end of the day, when these rules change, it doesn't matter if we agree with them or not. It doesn't matter any of that. At the end of the day, we're all playing on the same board with the same rules, and winners win. This is exactly what I said to them, right? We're playing with the same. So we can sit here and go, that's not fair. That's nonsense. That's utterly ridiculous. None of that matters. Take your 7 seconds, let it out, say whatever you want to say. None of it mattered. It's 7 seconds we're all never going to get back. What's done is done. And what I love is that if we're all playing according to the same rules, and I really believe that it is a meritocracy, in the end, the winners are going to win. And so when you look at a world like we live in today, you need to be looking at your real estate business, and you need to have someone doing your marketing, you need to have someone doing your TC, you need to start looking at, how do I run a business? How do I run a company? Because if you are going to compete moving forward, and you are going to be the best option when people have a plethora of options. And I'm not just talking about the best option for you creating your business, you staying in contact with your people, you having a plan for post-transaction. I'm not just talking about all of that. I'm also talking about a lot of these humongous companies like Zillow and like Redfin and all these other companies that will start giving business off to agents as well. They're also going to be picking who's the best option. Who's going to get us the best review? Who's going to make us look the best? And so when you look at your strategy, if that's part of your strategy, you still need to make sure that you are running the best business for you and your consumer. And again, consumer is the key thing. It's why a place like Zillow got the traffic to begin with, because they made it about the consumer. And there's something to be learned there that, forget about your hatred for this or anything else. What can we learn from this? How can we innovate? How can we get better? And that's what I want you guys to take from this. Let's stop focusing on all the crap that annoys us and all the companies and people we don't like and because I'm telling you right now that if I was your competition, while you were complaining and doing that, I'd be game planning on how to take over your market, okay? And every moment you're not doing that, someone else is. And I would rather than someone else planning on how they're going to put you out of business, you need to be thinking about how you are going to put you out of business, okay? Guys, I hope this is good for you. I'll check the comments later and try to respond to every single one of you. Feel free to share this with someone else that you think would benefit from it. I'll see you guys soon.